Before you even think about skipping this, pause for a second and really listen, because what I'm about to share with you has the power to completely shift the way a woman experiences you emotionally, mentally, and even subconsciously. Most men will go their entire lives never understanding this. They'll say the right looking words, but create the wrong feeling. And without even realizing it, they'll quietly turn attraction off instead of on. But you're here. And that already puts you in a different category. I'm Olivia, host of Psychology Secrets with Olivia. And if you stay with me until the end of this video, I'm going to give you something you can actually use today. Something she will replay in her mind long after your conversation ends. And before we go deeper, I want to ask you something. Have you ever felt like you said all the right things to a woman, but still didn't feel that spark build, like something invisible was missing? If that's you, don't worry. You're not alone. In fact, most men are stuck right there. And here's the truth no one tells you. Women don't fall for words. They fall for the feeling behind those words. Take a moment and really think about that. Because once you understand this, everything changes. Now, I want you to imagine this. You're talking to a woman. Maybe it's someone you just met or someone you've been getting to know. You compliment her. You say, "You look beautiful." She smiles, maybe says thank you. And then the moment fades. Nothing sticks. But then imagine instead you say something that makes her pause, something that makes her feel seen in a way she didn't expect. That's where the shift happens. And today, I'm going to walk you through 3 specific types of compliments that do exactly that. Not surface level praise, not generic lines, but emotionally intelligent expressions that connect directly to how women process attraction. And no, this isn't about manipulation. It's about awareness. It's about understanding emotional psychology at a deeper level. Because women don't crave attention. They crave meaningful recognition. Let me explain. Most men are taught, directly or indirectly, to focus on appearance. You're pretty. Nice smile. You look amazing. And while those aren't wrong, they're incomplete. They don't create emotional impact. Think of it like this. If every man says the same thing, it loses its value. It becomes background noise, familiar, predictable. But the moment you say something that feels specific, personal, and emotionally aware, her mind doesn't just hear it, it holds on to it. And here's where it gets really interesting psychologically. When a woman hears something that resonates emotionally, her brain doesn't just process it once. It replays it. It analyzes it. It attaches meaning to it. This is what psychologists refer to as emotional imprinting, when a feeling becomes tied to a memory so strongly that it keeps resurfacing. And the person who created that feeling, she starts associating you with that emotional experience. That's where attraction begins to deepen, not from effort, but from emotional precision. So let's go into the first compliment, but not just the words, the way it works. I love the way your mind works. Now, on the surface, this might sound simple, but psychologically, this is incredibly powerful. Because you're not complimenting something external, but you're acknowledging something internal. And that changes everything. Let me give you a real-life example. A woman I once worked with, let's call her Aisha, was incredibly intelligent, creative, and thoughtful. But most of the compliments she received were about her looks. She told me once, "It feels nice for a moment, but it doesn't feel like they actually know me." Then one day, someone said to her during a conversation, "I really like how your mind connects things. It's different." And she said something interesting. She didn't just smile. She thought about it later. She replayed it. She wondered what exactly he noticed. That's the difference. Because when you say, "I love the way your mind works," you're touching something deeper, her identity. You're telling her, "I see how you think. I see your perspective. I see you beyond the surface." And here's something important. Women invest a lot emotionally in their inner world, their thoughts, their ideas, their interpretations of life. So when someone recognizes that, not in a generic way, but in a sincere, observant way, it creates a feeling of emotional closeness. Now, here's where most men go wrong. They say it, but without presence. And this matters more than the words themselves. If you rush it, it feels scripted. If you force it, it feels unnatural. If you say it without actually noticing something about her, she will feel that too. So here's a small exercise for you. Next time you're talking to a woman, don't think about what to say. Instead, observe. Notice how she explains something. Notice how she reacts to ideas. Notice her curiosity, her humor, her perspective. And then, when it feels natural, express it. Not as a line, but as a realization. That's what makes it land. Now let's go deeper into the second compliment, because this one touches something even more emotional. There's something about your energy that stays with me. This is where things start to shift into what I call emotional memory territory. Because now, you're not just noticing her, you're telling her that she has an effect on you. And that matters more than you might think. Let's be honest for a moment. A lot of women, no matter how confident they appear, have moments where they wonder, am I memorable? Do I leave an impression? Or am I just another conversation in someone's day? And when you say something like this, you answer that question for her without her even asking. You're telling her she lingers. And psychologically, this activates something very powerful, curiosity. Because now she starts thinking, what part of me stayed with him? What moment? What did I do? And the moment her mind starts asking those questions, she starts engaging with the idea of you on a deeper level. Not because you tried to impress her, but because you made her feel significant. Let me share a quick story. There was a guy who once told a woman, after a simple coffee conversation, I don't know what it is, but something about your energy stuck with me after you left. He didn't over-explain. He didn't try to sound poetic. He just said it calmly. And she later admitted that one sentence stayed in her mind for days. Why? Because it created an open loop, and the human brain hates open loops. It wants to close them, understand them, revisit them. That's exactly what she did. Now, before we continue to the third compliment, which is the deepest of all, I want you to pause for a second. If this is already shifting how you see communication, drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel, because what we're building here is not just attraction, it's emotional intelligence. And trust me, that changes everything. Now let's step into the third compliment. And this one is different. It's quieter, softer, but psychologically, it goes deeper than almost anything most men ever say. I feel calmer when I talk to you. Take a moment and really sit with that, because what you're expressing here isn't admiration, it's emotional impact. And that touches a completely different layer of a woman's psychology. You see, attraction isn't just built on excitement, it's built on emotional safety, on presence, on how someone regulates your internal world when you're around them. And when you tell a woman that she brings you calm, you're telling her something incredibly meaningful. You're saying, your presence changes my state, not because you're weak, not because you need her, but because you recognize her effect on you. And that level of awareness, it's rare. Let me explain why this lands so deeply. Most women are used to being seen as something to admire, something to desire, something to chase, but very few are made to feel like they are a place someone can return to emotionally. And that's what this compliment does. It shifts her from being someone you like to someone who feels like home. And here's where the psychology becomes powerful. When a woman realizes she has a calming effect on a man, especially a man who seems grounded, steady, and emotionally in control, she begins to associate herself with peace in his world. And peace is incredibly attractive. Not in a loud, dramatic way, but in a quiet, lasting way. Now let me give you a real-life perspective. I once spoke to a woman who had been dating for years, meeting different kinds of men, some confident, some charming, some successful. But the one she couldn't stop thinking about was the man who told her after a long conversation, I don't know why, but I feel really at ease when I'm around you. She said something that stayed with me. It made me feel like I wasn't just someone he enjoyed. I was someone who mattered to his inner world. That's the shift, because when a woman feels that kind of emotional significance, she doesn't forget it, she revisits it. She replays the moment. She starts imagining what it would feel like to be closer, to experience more of that connection. And that's where emotional attraction quietly deepens. Now, I want to pause here and give you something practical, because knowing these compliments is one thing, but using them correctly is everything. So here's a simple framework you can follow. First, slow down your delivery. Most men rush their words because they're thinking ahead, but emotional impact lives in presence, not speed. When you say something meaningful, let it breathe. Second, mean what you say. This might sound obvious, but it's where most people fail. If you're just repeating words without actually feeling them, it won't land. Women are incredibly intuitive when it comes to emotional authenticity. They can feel the difference between performance and truth. Third, don't over-explain. This is important. The moment you start explaining your compliment too much, you remove the emotional mystery. And mystery is what keeps her mind engaged. Say it and let it sit. Let her think about it. Let her feel it. Now here's something deeper that you need to understand. These three compliments work because they touch three core parts of a woman's emotional identity: her mind, how she thinks, how she sees the world; her energy, the feeling she leaves behind; her impact, how she affects someone emotionally. And when all three are acknowledged, something powerful happens. She doesn't just feel liked, she feels understood. And understanding is one of the strongest emotional triggers for attraction. Let's go even deeper into the psychology behind this. There's a concept in behavioral science called affective association. It means that when someone consistently experiences a certain emotion around you, they begin to associate you with that emotion. So if a woman feels seen, valued, calm, and emotionally engaged when she talks to you, your presence becomes something her mind starts to crave, not consciously at first, but subtly. She'll find herself thinking about your conversations, remembering how she felt, revisiting small details. And here's the part most men miss. Attraction often grows in absence, not just in presence. It grows in those quiet moments, when she's alone and your words resurface. That's why emotional depth matters more than surface-level charm, because charm fades, but emotional impact lingers. Now, I want to share a small exercise with you that can completely transform how you connect with women. It's called the 3-layer awareness practice, and it's simple. The next time you're in a conversation with a woman, instead of focusing on what to say next, ask yourself 3 questions silently. What is she thinking? What is she feeling? What effect is she having on me? This shifts your attention from performance to presence. And when you operate from that place, your words naturally become more aligned, more meaningful, more real. You don't need lines, you don't need scripts, you just need awareness. And from that awareness, the right words will come. Now let's bring this all together. Most men try to impress women by showing more confidence, more success, more effort. But what actually creates connection is seeing more, seeing her mind, feeling her energy, recognizing her impact. And when you do that sincerely, you become different. Not louder, not flashier, just deeper. And depth is what stays. Before we close, I want to leave you with one final thought. You don't become unforgettable because you said something clever once. You become unforgettable because the way you speak consistently makes someone feel something real. That's what separates surface attraction from emotional connection. So don't just use these compliments as phrases. Use them as reflections of awareness. Use them as a way to connect, not impress. And if you've made it this far, I want to hear from you. Which of these 3 compliments do you think would create the strongest impact in your situation? Drop it in the comments below. I read them, and I'd love to know your thoughts. And if this opened your perspective even a little, take a second to like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear this, and subscribe to Psychology Secrets with Olivia. Because what we're building here isn't just better conversations, it's deeper, more meaningful connections. And trust me, once you understand this language, you'll never go back to the old way again.